listening to the Sports Hub Golf Club on Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub. From the Town Fair Tire Studios, home of the Celtics, Bruins, Revs, and Patriots.
Touchdown, Patriots!
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Easily Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins banked a 5-1 victory in Game 1 of the first round over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jake DeBrusk paved the way, scoring 2 power play goals in the second frame, and Jeremy Swayman posted 35 saves. Game 2 set for Monday at 7 p.m. Red Sox downed the Pirates 4-2 yesterday afternoon in Pittsburgh. Cutter Crawford gave up 1 earned and struck out 6 over 6 innings, and Masataka Yoshida went 3 for 4 with a 2-run homer in the 6th. Celtics playoff run starts this afternoon as they take on the Miami Heat in Game 1 of the first round. Duncan Robinson is questionable, and Jimmy Butler is out with an MCL injury. Pregame begins at 12:30 on the BetMGM Celtics radio network. Revolution lost to Toronto FC yesterday 1-0. Revs are dead last in the Eastern Conference with 4 points. In golf, Scottie Scheffler continues his dominant run just a week after winning the Masters, heading into the final round of the RBC Heritage. He sits atop the leaderboard at 16 under. Sepp Straka trails a shot behind at 15 under. And at the Chevron Championship on the women's side, Nelly Korda attempts to become just the 3rd golfer in LPGA history to win in 5 consecutive starts. She's currently tied for 2nd at 10 under after a suspended 3rd round. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Ryan Beaton on Boston's home for sports. 98.5 the Sports Hub. Your next update, 9 o'clock.
Marchand back of the net. Shoots, he scores!
This is Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand.
Every Bruins game on 98.5 the Sports Hub.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
We hit, we win. We put pressure, we win. We penetrate, we win.
Getting you ready for a long day of football coverage. The Pats, league news, betting lines, and game odds. Sunday Kickoff on 98.5 The Sports Hub has it covered. Here are Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
Welcome into Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, April 21st, 2024. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle with you. Last show before the draft.
We made it.
Final chance to talk about this draft in the future tense. This time next week, we will have a ton of answers. But we still got a whole week to go. Cerrone, how's it going this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing, man? You making it through?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Okay. Finished up, almost finished up my final mock draft last night. Mm-hmm. That'll be up Monday morning on 98.5thesportshub.com. So in terms of the workload of it, definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But I definitely feel like this is going to be a hectic week.
Yes.
Patriots picking 3rd. It's a 3 quarterback, 4 quarterback, 5 quarterback draft, depending on who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
I guess even 6 quarterback draft, depending on if you ask Elliot Wolf in his comments this week. He mentioned 6 top quarterbacks. But so given all of that, I think there's going to be a lot of narratives changing this week. You're already seeing it, the Vegas odds shifting about the 2nd overall pick between Drake May and Jaden Daniels. And now it's, we've worked under this assumption Drake May will be on the board for the Patriots. What if he's not? Mm-hmm. What if it's Drake May that goes 2nd? Do they take Jaden Daniels? Would they take McCarthy at 3? Will they move down? I think this week in the buildup, you're going to start hearing a bunch of reports about all these different scenarios, and this is the week when people tend to lose sight of what we're doing here, which is add good football players.
Mm-hmm.
That's the NFL draft. So
yeah,
I think this is going to be a very, very interesting week coming up.
Yeah, I mean, interesting, entertaining. I think if it wasn't for the playoffs going on in the other sports, I can only imagine some of the stuff that would be put out that we'd see across social media. But I think as early as Monday morning, it's going to get real wild. It's going to get crazy. I mean, as far as rumors and speculation, not nothing concrete that's going through. It's kind of like you mentioned yesterday, the whole thing, Belichick there's 12 hours before you start really believing the real stuff. But I mean, I think a lot of perspectives are going to change. You're going to hear crazy things like Bo Nick's name mentioned a lot around the top 10, top 15.
Please no.
It's gonna. Somebody's
no.
going to say it. Someone's going to run with it. You're going to hear it.
Actually,
it's coming.
PFF had a mock draft this week where the Patriots trade back to 6, then trade back to 9, only end up with like one future top 50 pick and draft Bo Nick's 9th. So no, that actually has already been out there.
There you go. One person sees that, and then they take off and run with it, and they'll be answering questions about it. But I'm hoping and praying everybody kind of stays. Someone say stands right. Just holds still and doesn't do anything crazy, because I would love to see the Patriots come out of this with the quarterback. I mean, it's getting to the point now. I'd be pretty disappointed if they came out of this with something other than one of those top quarterbacks.
I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah,
that's what this whole offseason's felt like it's building to.
Yeah.
And whether that is, we all have the quarterbacks we prefer. And by the way, you can like more than one.
Mm-hmm.
And, like some more than others, but like them all, that's totally allowed. But this whole offseason's been building to the new quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be, I mean, Caleb Williams would obviously be great. It's not going to be Caleb Williams. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, I guess J.J. McCarthy. Like, they could draft J.J. McCarthy as a franchise quarterback. I have my doubts about him being one, but I could see them drafting him for that, with that idea in mind.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of those 4 guys. I'm not putting Bo Nix on that list. I'm not.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't either. I mean, he had a pretty spectacular season, took care of the ball well, but I just think the other guys are game changers, and I've been, I've had my ups and downs with a few of them. Most notably is Drake May. But if they came out of that with any one of those guys, even Penix, I'm a huge fan of Michael Penix. I love his game.
Oh yeah,
I love Michael Penix. I'd be
How
happy.
can you not? He's everything
Dynamic.
that's exciting about the NFL. Now he needs to be better at some of the non-exciting stuff, because you still need to do that to be able to win. But Albert Breer had a great piece this week in SI where he talked to head coaches or just coaches, coordinators, front office people, just about all the quarterbacks, and kind of gave the, hey, here's what the league's saying, sort of general consensus. Here's both sides of the argument. And the league seems very high on Michael Penix, because in a league that is becoming more and more vertical, he's the best vertical passer in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
How can you not love that?
Yeah. And I think what's going to end up happening with him is, out of all these guys that are going to get drafted, he's going to be the one. He's going to get taken later in the draft or later in the first round, which means he's going to land to a better situation, I believe. I think he's going to end up with on a decent team, is going to have the ability to light it up right away. Excuse me. Does that mean he's going to be the best long term? I don't know, but I think it gives him the best start of all the guys. But in Caleb Williams, I believe they're setting up now for him to be, the Bears to be like a playoff team from day one. But
right.
I think Penix is going to have a chance for early success. Now, if the Patriots can land them a guy that gives them long-term success, I'll be extremely happy. But I think this is going to be a good week. It's an important week for them, for the fans. I mean, I haven't been in this situation since the Bledsoe draft, and I wasn't watching draft on TV back then, so I didn't know what it felt like to wait all week for that to hear that pick called, or read up on USA Today and all the other stuff, the New York Post and all whatever back in the day, in Globe and Herald. But I wasn't into that at that age. But now this would be the first draft I've sat and watched the first 5 picks and didn't want to leave the couch. This is the first one for me as a Patriot fan. And just a fan of the NFL that I'm really glued into the first 5 picks.
Will you look on Twitter and allow the picks to be tipped, or are you just going to, you want the drama on TV?
I'm turning it off. I'm not going on Twitter. I did that one time, and it wasn't even because of the Patriots. It was like at one point, what's his name? Schefter. Schefter was 2 picks ahead.
Oh.
I'm like, dude, it's is horrible, dude.
I remember years where they were 5-6 picks ahead of the TV. And now that wasn't in the first round, but
yeah,
they were like 5-6 picks ahead of the TV. And I I mean, I think since then now they've like told Schefter, hey, you need to calm down with it. But
You had like Cerrone, a basketball reporter, spoiling picks last year. I thought that was
I remember
weird.
that. Because he doesn't work for ESPN. They don't have the draft. He's not beholden to anybody.
So he just says what he wants, just throws it out.
Right.
Not throws it out there, but I got it, I'm putting it out.
Well, I mean, who's going to tell him to stop?
Yeah, true.
What does Stadium care? He works for what? Stadium and The Athletic, right? What do they care if people are watching the NFL draft?
Yeah. It's just, I'm not, the phone will be off. I'll turn it on once the Patriots make their pick.
Sure.
Just to see the reactions, because it might freeze. It's going to be ridiculous. Either way, no matter who they pick,
It's going to be good.
50% are going to lose it. 50% are going to love it. Well, 20% will love it. 30% will be, yeah, but they still don't have blank. It's going to be chaotic once they make that pick.
Of the top group, what quarterback do you think will get? And like you said, it's not going to be 100%. I wouldn't expect it to be 100%. But what quarterback do you think would get the most positive reaction from Patriots fans? And which quarterback do you think would get the most negative of that top group?
Positive, I think Daniels.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of fans, the first thing they're going to do is jet to YouTube and turn on the highlights. And they're going to see, they're going to see him smoking past Alabama defenders with his feet. Then they're going to see him dropping in 50-yard bombs over the shoulder against Florida. It's just his highlights are more spectacular. So the not casual fan, but the fans who really don't watch college football like that are going to immediately turn on YouTube and see those kind of plays and get excited. Like, man, look, if he can do this, he looks like Michael Vick. He looks like Lamar Jackson. All the things people have been saying for months.
Right.
And the kid won the Heisman. He's a dynamic player. So I think the excitement is going to give him the most. He's going to get the most love. The least would be, I think, J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people would take their phones and turn on the Celtics game. I mean, it just I think people would be upset if it's J.J.
You think
McCarthy.
people would just turn off the draft outright.
Yeah,
if they
just turn it
draft
off
J.J.
and turn to
McCarthy.
something else.
Wow.
Yeah, let's go Red Sox. I think people are really not down on him. I think it would be, how can I say it? It'd be less exciting if it was J.J. McCarthy of all the guys in the top 5, I believe.
Well, I will say,
quarterbacks.
along those lines, if they take J.J. McCarthy, I think of those guys, the J.J. McCarthy is the one who may get taken with a trade down. If they move from like 3 to 6, are they going to try to do that? And I think that definitely tempers the excitement. Is that something the Patriots would actually try? We'll discuss that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub. Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone battle on your station for the best football coverage. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
We're open to anything, moving up, moving down. We're open for business in the first round and in every round. We have some holes we feel like we need to fill in the draft, and we're a draft and develop team. The more picks we have, the better. But if there's an opportunity to move up and strike, if the board kind of recommends it, then we won't be afraid.
Open for business trading in this draft. How do you feel about that?
I understand it. I understand the idea of getting as many picks as you can, and even a player or something like that, a veteran player with the draft pick. Man, if they do all this maneuvering, trade all these draft picks, and to come out with something other than one of those top quarterbacks, I'd be so hurt. Right. But I understand the mindset behind it and why you would do it. But that'd be a tough one for me to swallow as a Patriots fan. But I understand why they would do it. Now, if you can trade back to, like you mentioned, you're still in the top 10 or whatever, and now instead of Daniels and May, you end up with Michael Penix, I'll be extremely happy then. But if you get something outside of that, I don't care how many picks you get after that, I'll still be upset.
Trade down to 34 all you want. I think that's a great move. I agree with the idea behind it. They have a lot of needs. They're a draft and develop team. The more picks, the better. But at a certain point, you're getting worse players, and there's certain positions you can't afford to do that at. Mm-hmm. And quarterback is chief among them. We'll take a lesser quarterback in order to get more, day two picks that guys could be rotational players. No.
Yeah.
You take the bet, whoever they think that is, May, Daniels, McCarthy, Penix, whoever they think the best quarterback is. And if it's, we think all four are the same, they're not, then I would say that the evaluation's incorrect. Mm-hmm. They're not all the, and that's just the nature of, it's so rare that prospects are on equal footing like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
No, I trade down at 34 all you want. I have no problem with adding picks.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it at 3.
Yeah. You keep that pick, and whatever happens after that is fair game. You gotta take that quarterback. I mean, I think it's in an old NFL, yeah, I get that. But in this NFL, this modern NFL, it's too built around the quarterback. Everything is dependent on the quarterback. And it's the fastest way to accelerate your wins, get more wins on the board and look like a dominant team. You got to get the quarterback. And like you said, getting a lesser quarterback has never worked. I don't think it's ever worked. The 49ers have been getting lesser quarterbacks over and over again. We mentioned it yesterday. And we're like, how come they just can't get over the hump? Because they keep getting these average quarterbacks. I mean, they get good numbers with the great players around them, but they trade half that team away for an elite quarterback, and they'd have several rings. And it's too important for them to pass up. I understand he's saying it. He doesn't want to just say, nope, we're taking the quarterback at 3, even though he just should just go ahead and say it. But, I mean, in the whole moving up thing, is anybody ahead of them really going to give up that pick? Because they want that quarterback too, and they understand the importance of it.
The other thing Wolf said kind of along those lines that was interesting was he doesn't feel as though the Patriots' top pick, whatever it is, 3, 6, 11, wherever they end up picking, he doesn't feel that the top pick needs to be a quarterback. Now, after that, he basically said, everything he said kind of sounded like somebody who plans on taking a quarterback. The next question was, would you be comfortable taking a quarterback with that top pick? And he said he would. I think that's just posturing.
Yeah.
But there's been this theme throughout the offseason, Wolf, Mayo, whoever's talked, that everything's on the table. They're not closing any doors. They'll consider whatever. And it feels like that's continuing here right down to the final week.
I mean, maybe he's talking in terms of someone gives them an offer they can't refuse, like an incredible haul,
right?
For that top pick, like something that if the public found out what they turned down would lose their minds. Like maybe that's what he's saying. Oh yeah, everything is on the table. I mean, but it has a massive price tag. Maybe that's the way they're looking at it, but. I just feel that the quarterback position is so important, not to you, but to the league, that you could see I believe this is going to happen. I believed it for a while. That all the quarterbacks, I think, are going to get swooped up so fast. And if you think you're going to get one later, you're going to be down to guys we were looking at as second, third round pick type talent. And I think everybody in the league is so desperate for these quarterbacks that I think they're all going to get snatched up. So if you're like, oh, we'll get one at 34, we'll get one, we'll trade and get one in the 20s or whatever. I think they're all going to be gone. I just have a feeling that there's going to be an incredible run on quarterbacks. Even for teams that have starting quarterbacks now, are still going to take one of these kids early. I just think you have to get one. If not, you're going to be left out there with Bailey Zappi starting come September.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bad spot.
I'm with you. And I that's kind of how I read that too, is like, if he says, yes, the first pick has to be a quarterback, and then they get offered 5 first-round picks to move down, right?
Yeah.
And now they can't take a quarterback first, everybody's going to call him out for that. But everything he said after he said, no, the top pick doesn't need to be a quarterback, made me feel like, all right, like, it doesn't need to be, but
it will be.
Probably will be, right? That kind of thing. Some other interesting notes just in the way he talked about quarterbacks, at least to me, and I kind of wrote a recap of everything Wolf said about the big 3 positions, obviously quarterback, tackle, receiver, and you can check that out on 985thesportshub.com. But a few things that stood out to me about the quarterback position, he did say they don't consider age a factor one way or the other. And obviously there's a wide range of quarterback ages in this draft. J.J. McCarthy just turned 21. Michael Penix will turn 24 right after the draft. So that doesn't matter. They're going off individual situations. That's notable. So if you were wondering, will Jayden Daniels' age spook them? And it's, more likely older guys you take off the board than younger guys. Will Jayden Daniels' age spook them? Will Michael Penix's age spook them? Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think they're looking at it, not self-preservation, but hey, we need one of these kids to hit earlier. We're not going to be working at all. So it doesn't matter if that couple of years is not going to kill us now. It's something we worry about when the kid's in his 30s, late 30s, mid 30s or whatever. And if his body starts breaking down or something like that. But I think in some cases, some guys see it as a positive. Okay, he's kind of a veteran coming in. He's a little older. It's a grown man coming into the locker room now as opposed to a really young kid. Maybe the mindset might be a little different. So I think they're cool either way, as long as the kid can play and is a good locker room guy. But, I don't think that was going to be a concern. I mean, it gets brought up a lot with like Bo Nix with his age. I think he's the oldest guy in the draft, oldest player in the draft.
He's up there.
Yeah, him and with Hartman. Hartman can't be too far behind either. He played
among quarterbacks. I think there's like a lineman who's like 26.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Hartman played at Wake Forest for a while before he went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't think it's going to be a major factor for them. And I think they're just trying to get the best player they can out of that when it comes to the quarterbacks. So I never thought the age would be a major factor for them. And look, I mean, yeah, Penix, his age and then his knees, I understand that part of it, but he's not like the kid's 30 years old or something like that. So I think they'll be more than fine with that.
Yeah, according to EstablishTheRun.com, there's a few prospects who are already 26, but they're like
really
lower level guys. Wide receiver from Utah, tight end from Pittsburgh State, not Pittsburgh State. That's in Kansas. Couple older guys. You're getting the last here, and I think there'll be a few next year, but for the most part, you're getting the last of those guys that got the extra COVID year. So,
I forgot about that part. Yeah,
yeah. So there are a few of those like true older prospects left. The one other interesting quarterback note from Elliot Wolf was he was very effusive in saying, and he was asked this directly, can the Patriots support a rookie quarterback? And yes, he was multiple times was very emphatic about that point. One direct quote here: "We're going to have the support that's needed for that quarterback if we draft one, whoever it is. We're going to have a situation where they're supported in every way possible to make them succeed." And this is after we've heard Gerard Mayo talk about the support staff, even at the coaching level for a young quarterback. Wolf said they feel like they have the roster for it. They are not afraid of that. They're not ready for a quarterback idea. And whether that means sitting him, whether that means future picks, because you're allowed to factor in future picks. And when I say future, I mean the rest of this draft.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they know they're going to take a tackle in the second round, and they're very confident they're going to get a starting caliber tackle. All right, well, that helps you get the roster ready. So they feel like they can handle a rookie quarterback right now.
So that whole sitting for the year, we can throw that out the window for the most part.
Maybe he means that as a part of supporting the rookie. Like that, he didn't specifically say how, other than we're going to have a sports staff, but I would say that lessens the idea of that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean I think it can be a situation. How many games was it before Mac Jones was thrown out there? A couple?
No, he started week 1.
He started. Okay, he just
remember because they cut Cam Newton.
They cut Cam, right? That's it. And I mean, it's. I think you should play him. I've never was the one to say sit him for a year. I think you should play your rookie quarterbacks. I mean, you got to throw him out there anyway. And who's to say next year your team is going to be loaded enough to where you can take care of them? But I think in this situation, new head coach, new GM, kind of new situation. I think the pressure from ownership and the fans and everybody else would be to play him. And I think they've all come to the conclusion that, okay, we're going to have to play this kid. So, yeah, we're going to have the support in place for him. We're going to do our best to try and take care of this kid, whoever it is, and get him out there. I think there's just too much pressure to sit him. And the fans would be screaming for him the minute Brissett or somebody throws an interception and goes 3 and out 3 times.
Right.
It's too much pressure here for that.
The offensive line, in terms of being ready, is going to be a big part of supporting a quarterback. What did we learn about the offensive line this week from Elliott Wolf? I think a few things. We'll get to that next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports.
jumps the pass.
Every game
Up top, Pastrnak, here it comes.
is one step closer to the goal.
Has the steal, flies over Grayson.
This is the home of the Bruins and the Celtics and their road to the playoffs. Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's never too early to talk football on Sunday.
Coming to the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I do. I read a lot of that storyline. I'm not really sure what that means. We have a solid offensive line. We re-signed Mike Onwenu. We have David Andrews coming back. We have 3 rookies that we drafted last year that are developing. We signed Okorafor from the Steelers. Hunter Henry, a good running game, a solid foundation, and a solid system in place with Coach Van Pelt on the offense. So I feel like I definitely feel like we can support. We have NFL receivers, we have NFL tight ends, we have NFL running backs, we have NFL offensive linemen. We feel good about where we are, and we feel through free agency on the offensive side in particular that we've been able to supplement our roster properly so we're not having to draft for need as much offensively.
Highlighted some of the talent they have. I want to get back to one specific thing in that quote as it relates to the offensive line, but Eric in Wakefield has a thought on the Patriots' readiness for a rookie quarterback. Eric, good morning.
What's going on, guys? I just wanted to chime in. You guys were talking about whether or not to sit the kid or not. As much as I like Drake May's potential, going from facing Duke's defense to whoever the Patriots face in week 1 is just such a massive jump for a 21-year-old. I think you got to sit him, and especially with look at the Packers. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. You're telling me Drake May can't sit for 1. I just don't know. I want to know what you guys think about that.
If they think it's the right call to sit him, and that is the argument to sit him to get him ready, then sit him. But you have to have the stomach for it. You can't if you're drafting him because you believe the path to Drake May being successful is him sitting for a year when it's Halloween, you're 2-6, and Jacoby Brissett's hurt, and Bailey Zappi's throwing picks left and right, and the fans are upset. You can't change your mind. You got to stick to the plan. That's what I'd add to that.
Yeah, and he mentioned Jordan Love in Green Bay. It was a perfect situation. You had Aaron Rodgers sitting there.
Right.
It's easy to say it and do it when you have a future first ballot Hall of Famer still, on his worst years throwing 40 touchdowns. So it's easy to sit a guy like that, but when the guy starting, like you said, is Bailey Zappi throwing interceptions or Jacoby Brissett just not moving the needle, is 3 and out, you're not scoring enough points. It's a different situation for the fans. It's harder for them to deal with. It's harder for ownership. And Kraft sitting up in that box, you see him slump his shoulders in Germany. He's doing that at home while the fans are booing, and one of your quarterbacks has 3 interceptions, and here's your top 5 pick standing there with a jacket on. That's a hard thing to do. You have to you got to commit to it one way or the other. And I don't know if, like you said, I don't know how many people could actually stomach that. And one thing I would say about that clip he just played of Wolf.
Yeah.
Man, he sounds like a confident dude, man. he sounds way more confident than we are as fans or whatever. You guys cover the team. You're there way more than we are. You see more insight, and he feels good about the roster and the team. And is he saying that, not saying, but, hey, we got the right guys in place. Maybe they weren't just bad at how they developed the quarterback. Maybe they didn't develop these linemen right. Maybe they didn't do the right thing, do right by these receivers. But these guys can actually play with the right coaching and the right system around them. Maybe that's what they're telling everybody. Maybe that's what he wanted to say in the press conference, make everybody feel good about it. But, man, he's a confident dude heading into this draft.
Look, he does sound confident about the group he has up front. And we did learn a little bit in terms of he said Chuck Okorafor, if they had a game today, would be the starting left tackle, which we've talked about on the show. I don't love, given he's played 2 left tackle snaps in 6 years in the NFL, none since 2021. But it seems like he has a starting offensive line in mind. But I want you to listen to this. This is part of the clip we just played, Cerrone. I want you to listen to this and tell me who's missing.
We have a solid offensive line. We re-signed Mike Onwenu. We have David Andrews coming back. We have 3 rookies that we drafted last year that are developing.
And then he said Chuck Okorafor after that, and the 3 rookies being Jake Andrews, Antonio Mafi, City So. Who's missing?
Strange.
Cole Strange.
Yeah. We signed Okorafor from the Steelers.
Thank you, Elliot. So Chuck Okorafor, who they signed, who was a swing tackle, Wolf is comfortable going out there and saying, yeah, we'd start him in left. Cole Strange, a first-round pick 2 years ago, not off the top of the head, not part of the group that Elliot Wolf is thinking of when he thinks of this offensive line. And for a guy that has dealt with injuries, for a guy that has been very inconsistent, look, guard should not be a need. They've drafted 4 in the last 2 years, Strange in the first round, and then 3 in the top 150 last year. I wonder, though, how secure Cole Strange's job is at left guard. I wonder if that's going to be a real position. Whether or not they add a player to compete at that spot in the draft or not, or it's just the guys from last year, I wonder if there's an open competition for that left guard spot when camp rolls around.
Do you think he could be one of those casualties, camp casualty later in the year if the other guys really pan out, plus what they come up with in this draft? Do you think he could be one of those guys that you look at your phone and breaking news, he's been released, traded, or something like that?
Maybe traded. Maybe. They're not going to cut him. And I think there's like dead money on his contract. I know the guy who doesn't have any dead money from that draft is Tyquan Thornton. So he could be the cap casualty. Yeah, there's like $3 million in dead money in Strange's contract this year. So I don't think they'll cut him. If they trade him, there's no dead money. But I mean, I think they keep him because I don't feel great about any of those other. When I say they don't feel great, I mean, like, I don't know how you go in and say, yes, City So, definitively a better left tackle than Cole Strange. Antonio Mafi, definitively. But could one of them look better in camp and, hey, we're going to go with this guy week 1, and, if it doesn't work out, we have Cole Strange to go back to? I could see something like that.
Yeah,
but new regime, it's not the coach that drafted him. It's not the GM that drafted him. I think starting guard, and maybe this is more of a 2025 thing than 2024 thing, I do think starting guard is a sneaky need, though.
I think whatever they decide to do, unlike last season, they have to make their decision. They have to stick with it, and without injuries being a key part of it.
Yeah,
there was too many games last year. We come on here and you come out with the report in the morning. We don't know who's starting where on the offensive line, week after week after week, and this is during the time when they were in a lot of games earlier in the season, and it just was no consistency in who was playing and who wasn't. And I think whatever they decide to do, they have to make the decision. Again, like the quarterback spot, you have to make a decision. You have to stick with it and get some kind of chemistry and continuity with that offensive line, no matter who it is out there. And you have to figure out a way. These are our core guys. This is what we're going to do. If so-and-so gets hurt, he's filling in at that spot and be done with it. Then real quick, I know you're about to take a quick break.
Yeah.
He said they were good at running back, I believe. Do you feel that way? Do you feel they have to? I personally, they need to address it in the draft somewhere down the line. Could be late, but I think they need young running backs somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good. I think there's 2 avenues to adding a running back. Like, Armando Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, solid top of the depth chart. Do you want to add a third guy? Because they've had issues this year with running back depth. Or not this year, last year with running back depth. Do you remember we were like, it felt like a play away from Jabril Peppers having to play running back at points last year? There was one game, I can't remember the game, but Kevin Harris got like the last 10 carries because there was nobody else.
There's no one left.
It was literally, he was the only active, healthy running back. So do you want to add a third back to compete with Kevin Harris, who, has kind of he hasn't really made that jump to significant workload, and that could be a guy you draft in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Or if you want to be a little more bold, Ramondre Stevenson's in a contract here. if you know you're probably not going to end up paying him, do you try to get a guy that maybe is in that third running back role this year, but next year, if he's not your RB1, maybe Gibson's your top back, is at least your second back replacing Stevenson. So that, like, I don't think they need to come out of this draft with, like, a potential starting running back.
Yeah.
But
they
should add at the position, and if they add an upside guy who could be a starter in year 2 or 3, I could see the logic behind that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That's why I said get a guy a little later in the draft, but I do think they need to address it. I don't think they're as solid and we're good here at running back as the way he said it. It's like I understand it, but again, maybe they feel that there's things and adjustments and play style that they can do to really, hit the ground running with this team. But I think they need some more playmakers when it comes to running backs. But again, you don't need to get one in the third round or second round, but one a little later I think would be very helpful to this offense.
Yeah, they need a guy. They need another guy at running back. And maybe it's just a guy that they draft and we say, great, they got another guy, and it's nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it is like, hey, writing's on the wall. This is Ramondre's last year, New England kind of guy. But another player at the position, like rosterable player at the position, would help. Bob, Dan, I see you on the phone. We'll get to you guys next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Sunday Kickoff is
courtesy of Coors Light, official partner of the Boston Bruins, celebrating 100 years of Bruins hockey. Must be 21 plus. Sports Hub listeners. Coors Light is made for playoff hockey, made to chill.
He begins the approach with a run-up and a swing right leg.
Every football game starts with a kickoff. This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your home for Patriots football. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
But I'm thinking more about a lot of the comments we've heard that the Ron Wolf GM tree is really good at drafting wide receivers, whether it be Ted Thompson or maybe Elliott Wolf will be able to do that for the Patriots. But I think people seem to forget that for 30 years, the guys throwing those receivers the footballs were Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So, if you can find one of those, then you should be good at drafting wide receivers. So I think that that's something that has to be explained as well, because more often than not, the quarterback does make the wide receiver.
That's a fair point, Bob, although I would say the Patriots had a pretty good guy throwing the receivers the football as well, and that didn't seem to help with their development.
No.
Yes, the quarterback can make the receivers better, and Tom Brady did that for a long time. But there also is a baseline in terms of drafting and developing wide receivers that I would say the Packers did a better job of reaching historically under Ron Wolf, Elliott Wolf, than the Patriots have done in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers, you talk about a decade or so is just, 2 decades, really. I mean, Jennings and Driver and Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams, they've always hit on those guys, and the Patriots have not. I mean, the tight ends they hit on, was Brady's thrown touchdowns to over 100 different players or something like that, something crazy.
But it's the record. He's the NFL record.
Yeah, it's beyond crazy. But I think if he does have an eye for these receivers, he might be able to steal a really good one late. And there's a lot of good receivers in this draft. So I think the chances are really high that they're going to come away with a good receiver in this draft. And to go along with what they have now, and kid they picked up from Minnesota, they could be on their way in that with that group of players, with the receivers. So I'm pretty confident they're going to come away with a good, even if he doesn't have a track record of good receivers. I think there was so many good ones in the draft that even a new GM with no history, no track record could come away with a good receiver in this draft. I would hope so. But I'm real confident. I have no issues or worries about them with that receiver. I'm just concerned that you got to get the right quarterback and coach has got kid up the right way.
So what does Elliott Wolf think of his current wide receiver room? Here's what he said earlier this week when he was asked about it, specifically the X receiver position.
Elliott, continuing with the receiver question, it seems from the outside that you mostly have a lot of Z and slot types. Do you feel that there's players on the roster who could fill that X receiver role, or is that a spot where you're still kind of looking to supplement?
I think we have players that can line up and play at X. Do we have players that on a 3-by-1 can beat the backside coverage every single time? I'm not sure we have that just yet. But we certainly have good receivers that we're excited about working with. KJ Osborne can play all 3 positions. We have Kendrick Bourne coming back, Pop, Juju. The list goes on. We feel like we have NFL receivers.
How do you feel about that comment? Because I'll say this. I think he's right. I think he's right in the sense that they have NFL receivers. They have, guys that can make plays. Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne, although it is Kendrick, KJ Osborne, Pop Douglas. But that's the thing. Those guys are complementary receivers. Who is going to
It was number one.
really capitalize when he's left one-on-one? That's the guy they're lacking, and that's the guy they don't have. So I know people are down on the receiver core, and that comment took a lot of heat. I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of the wide receiver position. I don't think it's as, I don't want to say it's not as complimentary as people are making it, but he leaves room for growth there, which he didn't do to me when he assessed the offensive line. And that's why I think we've talked about, okay, you take a quarterback at 3, where do you go next, tackle or receiver? I would go tackle. I've talked about that a lot. I believe you said you would go tackle as well. It sounds to me like if they, internally, if I had to guess them ranking the needs internally, it's wide receiver to not tackle, specifically that X boundary backside receiver.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a good point you just brought up. The way he talked about the offensive line. Oh yeah, we got guys that can play. He can play here. We got 3 rookies that are development from last year. Kind of like we're good to go on the offensive line. Receiver, he was like, yeah, we got guys that can play all over the place, but we still don't have a guy that can beat certain coverages. So they're acknowledging, okay, yeah, we do need a guy. Where you get that guy, I don't know what guys are going to be. I'm not sure, but I think it's safe to say that by the time we get to the weekend, there's going to be some receiver that the fans are going to be YouTubing as well. And I don't think it's going to be a small school kid that like Pop Douglas just kind of popped up out of nowhere. But I mean, if you watched enough ACC football, I think he played against Wake Forest and a couple other schools like Virginia or something like that and lit them up. So people knew about Pop Douglas. I think they're going to come away with a major name at receiver. And I think because there's so many, like I said a minute ago, that you can get one a little later because there's going to be guys out there. Now, I've said that I think they should, whoever quarterback they get, try and get one of his guys to kind of tandem with him. I know like Malik Neighbors, he's going to go early. Those LSU guys are probably going to be gone.
Yeah.
But try and get, if it's Walker, if you get Drake May and get Walker, I'm cool with that. But there's enough receivers out there that they're going to get one, and I think they're going to get one early. But I still think that left tackle would be the ideal pick for that second pick in the draft.
Let me ask
second round pick.
This. You've been our North Carolina scouting expert. We're gonna promote you here to scouting expert of the Carolinas, Xavier Legette.
I'd take it.
What do you think of him?
He's a tremendous player, and I think people will love him when they just hear him talk. He's about the countryest dude I've ever seen in my life.
He's got that Randy Moss thing going on.
Yes, he is a country dude, man. He's from that northern part of South Carolina, and man, if you ever visited that area, it's as country as it gets. And it's stuck in 1976, and they don't want to leave. It's a different type of country, but the dude is a stud. One thing about that area, they grow big and fast there. For some reason, there's something in the water, like they've always said down there.
6'1", 221, 439, 40.
There you go. He's a tank. And the fans would love him. I think he's a playmaker. And he's a game-changing type guy, but I think I think he'd have a good relationship with Mayo, if that makes any sense. Okay. I don't know how to explain that, but I think the fans would love him. I think he'd be a playmaker immediately, and people would be buying his jerseys day one. I think I'd be more than happy with that pick.
I'll say he's not that true backside X guy because he doesn't. You want that guy to have a pretty strong release package, and I wouldn't say that's one of the better parts of Legette's game, but he has the size. He has the ability to win at the catch point. He has the ability to create after the catch. He has the athleticism. Like, he's as close as you're going to get, I think, in that range. Yeah. And I know people here, oh, great. So, like, a big athlete who's not really a route runner, terrific, we're drafting N'Keal Harry again. To which I would say N'Keal Harry ran a 4.52. Xavier Legette ran a 4.39. Look, the basement for Legette is N'Keal Harry. I would say the ceiling is a guy like A.J. Brown. I think there's a lot of similarities to A.J. Brown.
Perfect comparison.
It comes down to can you develop him. But that's a guy I look. Mike Reese actually talked about this in his notes this morning. And the 3 guys he had, I can remember 2 of them off the top of my head. And Legette was one of them. He also had Ricky Pearsall from Florida. And I can't remember who the 3rd guy was, but Legette might make the most sense if that's the guy they want with their second pick.
Yeah, and think about, you get Drake May and Legette, you're going to have the country's locker room in the NFL. But if you hear both of those guys talk together, it's going to be hilarious.
Good for my family, they'll be close. So that'll be the best part about it. And just being able to have them come to the games. Yes.
That's Xavier Legette. I just need to hear him say
Kendrick Perkins.
I just need to hear him say the word program. Yeah, we got a great program here.
Program.
We got a great program going on up in New England. Like it's that Randy Moss Southern drawl.
Yeah, it's a program.
Awesome.
But you mentioned A.J. Brown as a comparison. I would look at somebody even like a young Anquan Bolden, just a tank once he catches it.
Yeah.
And you remember, you can't tackle guys from behind like you used to.
That's right.
So getting a big guy like this with those kind of wheels, catching a slant, all of a sudden now you're going to have to think twice of how you bring this kid down if you can at all. So that rule change makes guys like him with the tanks like this kind of more valuable. And look, I'd be happy with him, with the Patriots getting a guy like him. I think he's better than Walker from UNC. But I think he's more of because of his body. He's just a big kid.
I think he's a more complete player too.
Yeah, I think he is too. Yeah. And I wouldn't say Walker reminds me of Tyquan Thornton, but their body's the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like that thin, wiry, like a track star more so than a football player.
Yeah, I think he's a little more physical. Like my go-to comp with Thornton has been Troy Franklin from Oregon, but I see where you're coming from there. And adding that bigger guy, adding some size with obviously 4.3 speed would be great. So just a couple thoughts on the draft there. We do need to get to the other big news of the week, which was Bill Belichick, and it's a couple of things with Bill Belichick. So 90 seconds, no commercials, just the headlines. We'll be back talking Belichick and taking your calls here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Great, man. I'll be right down the road. It'll be a little easier for my family to come watch me play, so that'll be great.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, the home of the Patriots, the Celts, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Bruins got us off and running on playoff season in Boston last night. A 5-1 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 1. 2 of those goals from Jake DeBrusk at 3 points in total. Jeremy Swayman, 35 saves. One other game in the NHL last night is the Carolina Hurricanes knocked off the New York Islanders 3-1 in Game 1 of their series. 4 games coming up today, starting with the Lightning and Panthers at 12:30. The Capitals visit the Rangers, the Avalanche visit the Jets, and the Predators visit the Canucks to round out the slate. Celtics playoffs begin today, hours away. Game 1 against the Miami Heat at TD Garden. Coverage begins at 12:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. The Celtics have ruled out Luke Cornett for this game. NBA Finals from yesterday, all Game 1s. Cavs beat the Magic, Timberwolves beat the Suns, Knicks beat the Sixers, and Nuggets beat the Lakers. In other NBA playoff action today, Celtics Heat is the early game at 1 o'clock. We've also got the Mavericks and the Clippers, the Bucks and the Pacers, and the Thunder and the Pelicans. The Red Sox came away with a win over the Pittsburgh Pirates yesterday, 4-2. However, Tristan Casas left that game early with a rib injury. The New England Revolution played yesterday and lost 1-0 to Toronto FC. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
This is Kristaps Porzingis.
Left-hand dribble, lobs it. Porzingis catches with one hand and throws it down.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle are here, talking football every Sunday morning with the insiders and with you. It's Sunday Kickoff on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle. You want to join in, 617-779-0985. We're going to get to some of these calls in a minute. But we did hear a little bit about Bill Belichick this week from ESPN. A whole piece kind of detailing his job hunt back in January and February and how he ended up without a job. And obviously the big takeaway for a lot of fans, we'll start with the big takeaway was for a lot of fans. And I don't think this was intended to be the headline. Like it was always going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That Robert Kraft maybe called Arthur Blank and I don't want to say warned him about Belichick, but didn't give the most flattering review. And the Patriots have pushed back on that. In the piece, Patriots representatives quoting saying that wasn't the case. And, maybe Robert Kraft vented to Arthur Blank in the past about Bill Belichick, but certainly not as long as Belichick was vying for a job at the Falcons. What did you make of all that?
I mean, it's shocking, not shocking, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It look, I mean, if you're going to hire a guy at any job and you know where he's worked for the past 20 years, who he's worked for, you're one of the owners, one of your colleagues, buddies, friends, whatever, business partner, whatever you want to call it, of course you're going to ask him. And you're going to ask, man, with all the success you guys had, how come it didn't work? Why is he even available? Why is he gone? And Kraft, maybe, I don't know what he said, but he probably had to tell him, look, man, it didn't work out. This happened, that happened. We didn't get along with this. He's going to want to do this, that, and whatever. And then Blank made his decision. But I don't know what people was expecting Kraft to say to Arthur Blank that Blank really didn't already know. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, these guys have been talking to each other for years. They go to meetings together. They hang out. They do stuff off season together. And they got each other on speed dial and everything else. So I'm pretty sure they've talked in the past about it. But I'm basically, I think every other owner called Robert Kraft and said, man, how come it didn't work? What happened with you and Bill? And he had to let them know this was the deal. So I think the only shocking thing is that it got out and we found out about it. But I'm not surprised that he said something that could have thrown him off in hiring Bill Belichick.
I also know it says in there that was maybe like the driving reason Bill didn't get the job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They also talk about how there was a straw poll with other top Falcons executives, and they all picked their top 3 choices, and Bill wasn't on anybody's list.
Mm-hmm.
Did Robert call all the other Falcons front office guys too? Right. I just think there was a lot in there that we had speculated. He's older. He's going to want complete control for what's probably a 2-year window. Like around the league, not just the Falcons, you kind of got the idea why teams weren't super eager to work with him. I get it. Now, I'm surprised he didn't get a job. I would think at least one team, especially like Dallas or Philly, would just be like, you know what? Is this a good long-term move? No. But for Super Bowl, screw it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say most of what was in there didn't surprise me. I feel like it's stuff that's been talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret to there's literally a documentary on Apple TV that talks about the issues with them. I mean,
that documentary is what it is, but yes.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I mean, the information has been out there for years about Bill Belichick and his back and forth with Robert Kraft. It's well documented. I mean, it is enough out there to know, but they stayed together for so long, so I'm pretty sure people did reach out. And like you said, I just thought there was going to be an owner out there that was so desperate that he would have done it. Now, there might have been teams that weren't that good, and Belichick was probably like, man, I'm not even picking up the phone if they ask me.
I think there could have been some of that too.
Yeah, there's the other side of it. Bill didn't want to go to some situations. So I think if he was open to coach for every team in the league, he'd have a job right now. But I think he had his couple. And then when things didn't work out, he said, all right, I'm good. I'll go do some stuff for ESPN right now. And if you change your mind, give me a call. But I don't think there's anything he could have said to Arthur Blank that Arthur Blank didn't already really know. He just probably gave a little more detail to it. But, I mean, come on. And it's the same owners that got together and tried to bury the guy when it was Spygate and Deflategate and every other thing that came along. So they know about Bill Belichick and how he gets down.
All right, let's go to the phones. Dan in Rhode Island on the Patriots quarterback situation.
I can morph for a little bit more what you're talking now. I mean, I never understood the logic from the beginning of this, why a team that's done a pretty good job collecting talent the last few years, like the Falcons, would hire a guy who's basically just driven another franchise into the ground. You could put Helen Keller in a room and have her watch tape on wide receivers, and she would do a better job than Belichick the last few years. Seriously.
Well, that's kind of the point. The Falcons have the talent.
They already have the talent.
Bill was still a good in-game coach, is still a good in-game coach. The roster's built for him.
But he's so much more than that, and we don't have to get into that. But, can I just go back to the draft real quick?
Yeah.
The Patriots, to me, have already shown their hand because they only got Brissett on a 1-year deal and nothing behind it. Of course they're taking a quarterback. But on top of that, just the idiocy of, the people who want to say, let's take Marvin Harrison, right? You know that if the Patriots called up the Vikings and said, we want 11 and Justin Jefferson, how fast would they drive Justin Jefferson to the airport? You know what I mean? You could have the best receiver in the game if you wanted to trade that pick. It just makes no sense to me. And to build it up only to say, okay, now we get a team, we're picking in the teens, and we're going to have to give up 3 first-round picks 3 years from now to get the guy that we still aren't sure about. It's just idiocy. I just don't understand. People don't use their common sense with this. Please take Drake May and let's move on.
Yeah, Dan, good call. I agree with that last part.
I agree. Just take a quarterback.
It's never going to be any more comfortable drafting a quarterback. If the reason you want to trade down, the reason you don't want to take quarterbacks, you're uncomfortable, and you say this isn't the year, you're never going to get a year more comfortable than this. And that doesn't mean this year is comfortable, but you're never going to get a year more comfortable than this, simply put. Let's go to Kendall in North Carolina.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Good show this morning.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I got a question. With all the reports come out of Washington about about the Daniels situation, if the draft was today, if you guys had to bet today, what's your gut feeling on the pick right now for the Patriots at number 3?
Okay, so the question is, the comment line says Daniels available at number 3. So are you saying if Drake May go second?
No, I'm just saying, like, for the Patriots, like, what you think, which way you think they're leaning. Well, no, not for the Patriots, but for Washington. Do you think Daniels still goes there? Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
I still think it's Jaden Daniels for all the smoke, and I get that maybe his team isn't super happy with Washington right now. Doesn't matter. It's the NFL draft. It's not free agency. It's not college recruiting. As much as Jaden Daniels maybe wants it to be like college recruiting, it's not. And if Washington believes, even if he's a little unhappy, that he can be the future of their franchise, they'll draft him and win him over. Plain and simple.
And I agree with that. I was also of the mindset for a while that maybe they would lean to Drake May. Maybe they kind of like Drake May. I mean, they were there at the pro days and they would grinning all over the place too, watching Drake May throw the football. But in the last few weeks, you're hearing so much Schefter throwing it out there. So, I mean, you've played all the clips of all the guys slipping up and saying Jaden Daniels in Washington, buying the jersey and all this other stuff. Right. I think there's just too much smoke in Washington right now for Jaden Daniels. And my gut feeling is the Patriots will take the next guy up, and that's Drake May. I'm pretty confident in saying Drake May is going to be the quarterback of the Patriots by the end of the week.
And I'll say this. I think they take Jaden Daniels if Drake May goes second. I think they're taking one of those two guys there. That simple. Yeah.
They're not letting both of those guys get past them. They bet not.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a big reason why.
They bet not.
And Elliot Wolf talked about this week because remember, he was in that front office in Cleveland that took Baker Mayfield first with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on the board.
Yeah.
He said, looking back on it, how different would things look if he acknowledged at the time, Lamar would not have been a popular pick. But he also said, you look back on the draft and things like that. Do you want to be the guy that's potentially let that kind of electric talent go past twice? Again, the two guys from that draft, they really passed on. I mean, they also passed on Josh Rosen, but whatever, were Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Who are the two guys that Drake May and Jaden Daniels get compared to the most?
That's right.
And there is no Baker Mayfield. I guess the Baker Mayfield in this draft would be Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, yeah.
Oh, my God, if they take Bo Nix third overall, forget it.
Yeah, people are going to lose it.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to worry about that at all.
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson in college I think he won the Heisman.
Did win the Heisman. He didn't win it his draft year. He won it as a freshman, but he did win it.
He won it, and he was throwing for 4,000 yards and running for he was Jaden Daniels, and he did it a couple times. It wasn't just a fluke. I mean, the kid was jumping over people in college, so you knew then Lamar Jackson was legit, but a lot of teams passed up on him. But I don't think he's got his opportunity to make up for that right here and not do it again. I'm pretty sure he lost a lot of sleep over that. But now once you factor that in, it's like, he's not letting one of these guys get by him again.
All right, we're long overdue for a break, but when we come back, the other big Bill Belichick story this week, because there were two. What was the other one? We'll get to that next year on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming. Sherrod and Bob Beers 7.
Shoots, Swayman came out, squared up, made that look easy.
The playoffs play here. 98.5, the Sports Hub. You're listening to Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your station for the best football coverage. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Coach, I just announced to the world something that we've been chatting about for like the last month and a half or so. So incredibly pumped and thankful that you'll be joining us next Thursday night in Detroit for the countdown and for the draft. In your wildest dreams, could you imagine your first live event post-coaching, maybe, in the year off of coaching, being with a bunch of idiots like our particular show? And why did you agree to do this with us? We are so incredibly thankful.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. It's always draft day, draft weekend's always an exciting time for everybody, for the teams that are building their teams and for the fans and for everybody involved in it. So, it's a great event. And, I'm looking forward to seeing it, from the other side. It'd be fun to be in Detroit, be with you guys and get your expertise.
Oh, whoa. No. Now. Okay, we don't need that type of chatter now.
So Bill Belichick's first job post Patriots will be with Pat McAfee. Who had that one coming? Don't get me wrong, I'm pumped. I'm very excited. That kind of laid back format is going to be amazing for him, and he'll be on with them during the draft. That was announced this week. This has a chance to be a ton of fun. The only thing I'm bummed about is one more thing I got to follow on draft night. It's already such a busy night, but I think this could be really cool. I'm super happy, and not just for the fans. I think it's going to be great for Bill. I think it's an awesome opportunity for Bill.
It is, and I think there's going to be a lot more things to come. And I think before you know it, he's going to be really comfortable in his new TV roles and making a ton of money.
Oh yeah,
doing it. And I'm only going to watch it for one reason. I want to see him when they Patriots pick.
So
I just want to hear everything he says about that pick, huh?
That's what's crazy to me. You're Elliot Wolf. You are making the first draft pick for the Patriots in the post-Bill Belichick era after 20 years. It happens to be third overall at the most high-profile position in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And then add to all that pressure, Bill Belichick is immediately and publicly going to give his thoughts on it.
That's great.
The heat in that room is going to be up a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, you think they're going to have the TV on the right-hand side? Like when they show the War Room, you're going to see like Pat McAfee playing in the back in the corner?
Imagine if we see that?
He brings his dog in, the Husky.
Nike's going to be involved somehow with McAfee. Absolutely.
This is going to be great. Patriots trade out of the pick and Bill just loses it. Like, who does that? It's like, whoa.
Oh, my God. That would be so funny. I think it's going to be great. And it's going to be cool to see just Bill going through the draft. So the way they're setting it up, as they explained on the show, which I think is brilliant, they are essentially setting it up like they are a 33rd team. So they will have their draft board. We're going to get to, and whose draft board would it be? You'd think Bills. I'm sure they won't say it's Bills, but I'm guessing it will be mostly Bills' influence on that. Yeah. They'll have their draft board. They'll be talking about decisions teams are making, potential trades, things like that. I mean, it's going to be Bill running a war room, essentially, on TV, cool. Which is going to be awesome. The only thing I wonder is, and this goes back to that ESPN piece that Bill still wants to coach next year, he does need to be a little careful. And I wouldn't fault him for being careful. I get it. But the last thing he needs to happen is he blasts a player, and now next year he's coaching that player. Or something like that. So yeah, I do think he's going to be a little guarded. And again, I don't blame him for that. I totally understand why. But even with that, I still think this has a chance to be tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard for them to mess this up unless it's too much Pat McAfee and not enough Bill Belichick. I think that's the one way you can ruin it. But I think this is going to be...
You're not worried about too much AJ Hawk?
It's a good point. Yeah, I'm going to need Bill in 80% of this and them reacting to what he says. But I want to see more of Belichick in this role. I think he'd be great for it. And like I said, the intrigue whenever the Patriots names are being called, just what he says or him breaking down their needs. Like just that alone, like, man, this is a terrible team. They have no receivers. like literally talking about the team he built. Like, they need help here. They're a mess.
Who put this thing together?
Who did this? Guy should be fired. But I think that's going to be great TV, and they're going to play with that. The jokes are going to fly when the Patriots come up on the board. So I'll be watching that way more than I'll be on Twitter until the pick is actually made.
And I'll say, in terms of worrying about, is it going to be too much McAfee or whatever, they did a really good job. That whatever it was, 30 minutes Bill did this week with them, tremendous. And I thought they did a good job of, they let him be the star. He's Bill Belichick. Of course he's going to be the star, and I thought they did a good job of that. Before we go to break here, we got a couple calls. Let's go to Jeff in Rhode Island.
Hey, good morning, guys. How's it going?
Morning.
Good. Real quick, as far as the Patriots and the talk of trading for a wide receiver and things along those lines before the draft, and I say this as a 49ers fan who's been hearing the whole Brandon Ayuk thing since the day after the Super Bowl, I think that my thing is I don't see the Patriots making a trade for a big-time guy because that market keeps going up. Now, I know it was Calvin Ridley at $22 million. Now you have the signing of Devontae Smith in Philly at 25. Like, I just don't know if the Patriots are willing to go that extra mile to trade for a guy, give up picks, probably have to give him well over $100 million plus God knows how much guaranteed, and or do they just kind of maybe grab a couple of guys in the draft, further, in the later rounds? I was wondering your thoughts on that, considering that, I don't know if the clock's on all of these teams come draft day.
Good question, Jeff. I don't think they trade for a big-name wide receiver this offseason. I think the time to do that is come and gone. The market's pretty thinned out, especially not before the draft, especially not this week. I think that's more a move for next offseason because you want to have part of that, too, is like when you make that trade, when you make that investment, you want to know you have the quarterback in place when you do it. And they don't know that yet. And even if they draft Drake May, like, you got to see him first. So I think that's more of a next offseason conversation. I do think it's something they need to consider. I think it's something they should do. I'm not going to be super upset if they don't do it right now. That being said, if A.J. Brown is available, and you don't have to worry about the contract with A.J. Brown, by the way, because it's going to need to be reworked a little bit, but he's under contract for 3 more years. The third year is kind of a dummy year, but really 2 years, I'm under contract. If you can go get A.J. Brown for a second-round pick, doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, he's you already know what he is.
Right.
You're not sure about the rookies. You know what he's all about.
We just talked about Xavier Legette, like, gushing over him. Like, oh, my God, he could, if you take him with the second-round pick, he could be A.J. Brown. You could just trade that pick for A.J. Brown. The mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't know. So, yeah, I take A.J. Brown in a heartbeat. And like you said, the key part is seeing what your quarterback can and can't do, your young quarterback, seeing what your needs are for next year. If we all come out of this season and say, man, they were pretty good offensively, but all they need now is blank. Now you know what you got to go after in the free agency next year or in the trade market to fill in that whatever that blank is that this quarterback could really, really use right now. He can use, could it be speed, better slot guy, X guy, whatever it may be, but you have to wait and see what you have in this quarterback in this offense before you just throw pieces together that might not fit.
All right, we've done a lot of quarterback talk today, a lot of quarterback. So I want to dedicate one segment to no quarterback talk. Still going to be draft, but I want to talk about some of our favorite prospects who are not quarterbacks. We'll do that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports.
Horford.
This is Al Horford.
Al Horford catching slam. Horford for three.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
It's never too early to talk football on Sunday.
Coming to the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Behind the glass, I want to remind everybody the last Sports Hub headlines were brought to you by Cape Cod Lumber and CCL Homescapes, 100% employee owned. Your go-to independent lumberyard partner with CCL and CCL Homescapes for all your building needs right in Abington. All right, so Cerrone, I said I wanted to do this. Just some prospects I put in the rundown top 5. I guess we can be flexible with that, but any non-quarterback prospects in this draft you really like for the Patriots?
I would say he reminds me of, he's not as big, but his speed footwork remind me of Dwight Freeney.
Okay.
I don't know why I watched so much Pac-12 football this year. Maybe because it was the whole Colorado thing, Caleb Williams. But every single time I watched the dude, Bo Nix, another one. Every single time I watched the dude play, he was making plays. And I was like, yo, this dude's pretty good. And him and his brother are out there. But he's a good edge rusher. I like Shipley from Clemson. I've always liked him. I watched a lot of
the
him.
running back, yep.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good third down back in the NFL. Very fast. I didn't know he was going to run a 4.340.
Yeah,
but
that was impressive.
Very impressive. I think he'd be a good third down back for the Patriots, for anybody really. But I think that third down back, you see them address it this year, picking up the kid from Washington, but I think it's so important. It was been important to them winning over the years. They've always had a guy who was just clutch, who was a third down back for them in key situations. I think it's something that's been missing from this team, and I'd absolutely take him. And we mentioned again the running backs earlier, Benson from FSU. I think he's a good running back. They were a good team. It wasn't all about the quarterbacks and defense. They could run the football, and he was a key part of it. So one of those two running backs, so that edge rusher, I think I'd be real happy if they can come away with an edge rusher with those type of skills.
So Latu might be a first-round pick. He could be a bit tough.
Mm-hmm.
There are some guys I really like at that position, though, later on. Austin Booker, they met with out of Kansas. Kind of came out of nowhere. So he was at Minnesota for 3 years and didn't really play. Didn't play. And then transferred to Kansas this year. Wasn't like a highly regarded transfer or anything. And just went nuts. 8 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, 56 total. Really explosive rusher. And he's still raw because, again, he hasn't played a ton of football. He only played 6 games in 2 years in Minnesota total. But he can get after the quarterback. And then a little later, Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. He wrecked. So you said you watched Colorado.
He destroyed Colorado.
Yeah, and he destroyed a lot of teams. He's very good, highly productive. He's a little undersized. He's 6'1", 248, but plays with a great motor, great power. If
he was like, limping and was killing them.
Right. If he was like 2 inches taller and played in the SEC, and I get it's a big if, but we'd be talking about him as a top 50 pick. And I don't know that he'll ever be, a 3-down player in the NFL, but if you're talking about like the 102nd pick, 103rd pick, as a rotational, situational, you're going to put him on the field on third downs, have him go after the quarterback. That's a good spot to get that guy. With Josh Uche in a contract year, they may need that guy. At the running back position, Shipley's interesting. I actually think he may be more of a slot receiver than a running back in the NFL.
Yeah, I could see that.
Not as good between the tackles as maybe you're looking for. I like Braylon Allen if they want to go running back a little higher. You mentioned Trey Benson. You look at both Alex Van Pelt and Elliott Wolf. So when Elliott Wolf was in Green Bay, it's not just like that they liked big, powerful running backs. They like to have 2 of them. You had Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams in Elliott Wolf's last year there. Then obviously A.J. Dillon comes into the picture.
A.J. Dillon, yeah.
In Cleveland under Van Pelt, he didn't just have Nick Chubb. He had Kareem Hunt. So the Patriots obviously have one of these big, hard-to-tackle backs in Ramondre Stevenson. Do they want to add another one? Braylon Allen, 6'1", 235. Just a pain to tackle. He also just turned 20 years old. Wow. So he's young. He's younger, too. So that element of it is interesting.
What's the kid? I can't remember his name. What's the kid that lit up the Senior Bowl from UNH?
Oh, Dylan Laube.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they want to go pass catching back, he may be more well-rounded, though. I mean, he's just so quick. The way he gets in and out of cuts, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could be a fit. I like Isaac Correndo from Louisville, too, had a great combine. Dylan Johnson from Washington, if they want that bigger, more powerful back. But Braylon Allen's maybe a little too rich for them.
Yeah, the kid from Washington, I think if he was 100% healthy going to that national championship game, things might have gone slightly different.
Yeah, good point.
I think it was a key loss for Washington. What's the kid you mentioned, the pass rusher from Colorado State? What's the tight end? I can't think of his name. He's a tight end from Colorado.
Dalen Holker.
He's got some soft hands, man.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
Combine where he caught 2 footballs.
Yes, he's a good player. He took a couple off his shoe tops.
Yeah.
In that Colorado game that they went in there and upset them. He stood out to me as one of their key players, but he had amazing soft hands, and the thing at the combine just went ahead and confirmed it. But I think he's a decent player, a decent tight end. I don't know how he is in the run game or anything like that, but I think he's a good guy to make some catches over the middle of the field.
He has a project tight end later on day 3, more of a receiver than a blocker, but he could be a target. Jaheim Bell, who they met with from Florida State, similar player in that range. Mm-hmm. Devin Culp from Washington, the Washington tight end, I like. And obviously Tip Raymond's been talked about a ton for the Patriots because they have these 2 receiving tight ends now in Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, and they need a blocker. Tip Raymond, 6'6", 271, looks like an extra tackle, but isn't like inept as a receiver either. You can throw him an occasional pass here or there, a little bit of a red zone threat. He's a guy that's gotten a ton of attention for the Patriots.
How are you feeling on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to the draft? Secondary more so, corners, safeties.
Yeah.
Do you see them reaching a little higher in the draft for one of those type players?
I could see them for a safety if it's a free safety. Allow them to maximize what Kyle Duggar does. Keep him in the box. And the guys, Tyler Nubin, I love. He's going to be a top 50 pick. I don't think they're reaching that high. So I look at Kalen Bullock from USC. You could probably get, maybe you move up a little bit from 102. I don't know that you're getting him at 102, but maybe you move up a little bit. Dadrian Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech. Super athletic deep safety. Cam Kitchens, everybody's kind of soured on because he had a terrible combine. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't, but he's a better athlete than he tested at the combine. I believe that just watching him on tape. And the Patriots should have a real good idea of the kind of player he is because Alonzo Highsmith, who's in the front office now, was at Miami the last 2 years. So if Highsmith signs off on him, Kitchens before the combine was a projected first-round pick, and now they're saying he may fall to day 3. So if Highsmith goes and was like, that wasn't him. Whatever he did at the combine, it's not him.
I saw it, yeah.
Right, he's better. They may look at that and say, this is a tremendous
steal.
Tremendous value pick, right? So I could see them taking a corner too. Maybe not as high, but I think getting a second boundary corner could be the move. They may also look at one of these tweener guys that can play boundary and slot because Jonathan Jones has been very valuable in that role. He's in his 30s now. He's in a contract year. There's a ton of guys in this draft. Jarvis Brownlee from Louisville. Josh Newton from TCU. Shaw Wade Smith from Washington State. I'm missing one. Beanie Bishop from West Virginia. That's just on day 3.
Yeah.
Guys that I'm not saying they're going to come in the league and be Jonathan Jones, but they fit that profile.
Yeah.
So that's more where I see them going at corner. Somebody in the YouTube chat mentioned Jalen Simpson. Let's say they want to fill both. A guy that can play deep safety and boundary corner. Jalen Simpson was a starting boundary corner at Auburn for 3 years. It's pretty good. Moved to deep safety last year and was one of the best free safeties in the SEC. So he's still kind of raw, in terms of his instincts, but a guy that could maybe play rotationally at both spots, take him on day 3, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, I was just thinking with Mayo being the head coach there, I didn't think he's going to come out of this draft without adding something to his defense. I think he's a defensive guy to his core, and I think they're going to, not going to say make a splash, but I think they're going to add more defensive pieces, more of an effort toward that defense than I think fans expect. And I think it's going to be, I'm going to think it's going to be their strength coming out the gate. We know they're going to be able to defend, and they're probably going to build around that early on because they know that's going to keep them in ball games and allow things to be easier for their young quarterback, whoever that may be. So I'm just curious of your thoughts of who you think would be the defensive guys they would target. But it's going to be a very interesting week.
The one guy I'm really torn on is T'Vondre Sweat from Texas.
Yep.
6'4", 366-pound nose tackle, like true nose tackle, people mover. You cannot single block him. He's too powerful. You can't do it. And you have him. I just look at it, but at the same time, like, he's not an athlete. He's not like an elite athlete, but
he's old school nose tackle.
No, but he does move better than you'd think somebody his size does. So like, he's not going to be a 3-down player. He's too big. But if you really want to put him out there on select passing downs, like he's not going to look totally out of place. He'll push the pocket a little bit. You put a guy like that in the middle of the defense to occupy blockers and free up opportunities for Josh Uche, for Matt Judon, right? He could have, I'm not comping him to Vince Wilfork, but he could have a Vince Wilfork sort of impact in the middle of that defense. Now, here's the thing. He's a guy that there's been some questions about his commitment to football, and he got popped for DUI last week.
Yeah.
At first, I thought like maybe if he falls to the third round, do the Patriots reach? Now I feel like he's probably going to be off their board.
Because of the DUI, not because of nothing else.
Well, I think the DUI coming where there were already some concerns about focus and commitment.
Okay.
So it more like those issues are maybe real rather than, this guy got one DUI, let's forget about him.
Do you think those type of players, because of the Patriots' past, not to go back into that part again, but because of their past and some of the players they brought in, do you think they're really way more iffy on players with a checkered history kind of coming in?
It's not even a past thing. It's a future thing. I think for all they've talked about, getting the right guys in the locker room in character and leadership and all of that, to go out and get a guy who maybe hasn't been the most focused runs against that to me. That's just me. That's just me guessing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. No, it makes sense.
All right.
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. It sucks that you see. I mean, there's things going around the league. Guys getting arrested. You got the situation with Rice with the race in the cars and all that type of stuff. And I could see owners kind of reeling it back in, like, okay, guys, we chilled for a little bit. Now you're starting to act up again. We're going to take it easy on the conduct situation with some of these players. So. Yeah, that sucks that the kid got popped and did what he did, and I hope it didn't cost him too much money or his career, but I think the Patriots might stay away from that.
All right, one more segment, Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff before the draft. We'll do that next.
Dylan Laub from
Maine.
Medford,
University of New Hampshire.
If the Pats draft a guy from UNH, Elliott Wolf should be sent packing.
swing of the right leg.
Every football game starts with a kickoff. This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on your home for Patriots football. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, Barth. I mean this sincerely. Thank God for you. I've been chafing for weeks trying to figure out how to get my late-round picks into Felgren Mass without getting hung up on immediately.
I appreciate it.
This guy, Cerrone from Utah, I love how he plays, and specifically on the offensive side of the ball, when you watch his tape and in games, he's a lot faster than he shows, and he can catch the ball too. I really like him, as a late-round pick, even to fill the need on running back.
Who was your favorite quarterback in the draft, by the way?
I'm so torn on this.
Call line says.
I think you have to go with May. I love the upside there. I know there's a lot of work to be done. If they want McCarthy because they think there's more untapped potential there, I won't kill them for it. But if they take McCarthy simply because they like his intellect or his leadership skills, I'll hammer him for that.
All right, fair enough. On Cerrone, super interesting player. So, played all over the secondary for Utah. A smaller guy, but very physical. Plays much bigger than he is, which is always great. That probably makes him more of a undersized box safety, nickel safety, slot corner in the NFL. He's 5'11", 210. But then Utah's running backs got decimated by injuries this year, and he filled in at running back and wasn't bad. I mean, you could tell it was his first time playing running back, but all things considered, he's pretty good. Projected early, mid-day 3 pick. I'll say for the Patriots, if they want to find somebody to plug into Miles Bryant's old role, 1-for-1, a guy like Vaki doing that, and then he has tremendous special teams upside. I don't know how much running back he's going to play in the NFL. This isn't like Marcus Jones, where Marcus Jones was a legitimate two-way player. Vaki was a safety who kind of pinch hit at running back because they need him to, but gives you some emergency depth there. Ton of value on special teams, can play as an extra defensive back. I could see them really liking Cerrone Vaki.
And you keep mentioning special teams.
Yeah.
Special teams are going to get treated a little different this year now because kick returning is a big deal.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal now, so that'd be a good call. Good point out on you, with special teams. It's huge position now, defending it and return skills. So everybody's going to have to shore up their special teams coming into it. Just real quick, man, before we check out, man, where's the Alex Barth war room at, man? How are you watching the draft?
So Thursday night, I will be down at Gillette with Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub. So this is great. There's no playoff games during the draft at all.
That's what's up.
It's never happened as long as I've covered it. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. So I'll be down at Pat's place with Joe Murray. More on that on 98.5thesportshub.com. We'll be live Thursday night. And then Friday and Saturday, I'll be from the station covering the draft from here. So before we wrap it up, we got Mark Tendero, Ted Johnson coming up next. Final show before the draft, Cerrone. What are they doing? Who's the first pick? And do they go, or let me start off. Who do they take at 3?
Drake May.
And do they go receiver, tackle second?
Receiver. I want tackle, but I think they go receiver.
I couldn't agree with you more. Same page. Next time we're on, we will know the New England Patriots 2024 draft class. For more coverage leading up to the draft, 98.5thesportshub.com. I'll be on Felgren Maz Tuesday, big board all week. And then it's draft time, baby. Talk to you next week. Bye.